Stick welding a lap joint is a very common joint that you're going to find in lots and lots of applications. You can see this anywhere from plate, welding on trucks. Lap joint is probably one of the most common joint you're going to find on a truck body. Um, you're going to see it a lot in repairs. And one of the reasons it's such a great joint is because it really doesn't require any fit-up tolerances. Um, on a butt joint, if you were to cut out a rusty patch and put a butt joint in there, you'd spend a lot longer trying to get everything to fit right so you can get a good root opening, and so that everything matched properly. The lap joint, none of that matters. You measure roughly, an inch oversized or a half inch oversized, whatever it is you're doing, and you go ahead and weld it up. There's no real major tricks to this except for rod angles. That's probably the most critical part of this joint, is getting the rod angles right. You'll see for the first weld here, my rod angle is 45 degrees in the joint, and maybe a 15 degree to 20 degree drag angle. And as far as the techniques for the actual weld are concerned, not a whole lot to it. I like to pretty much just drag it. You can step it a little bit if you want to get better fusion down at the toe of the weld, not the toe, the root. But for the most part, you can just drag it, and you'll get pretty good results just from that. Biggest thing you should be concerning yourself with when you're doing this is maintaining the proper arc length and a travel speed that's conducive to the size of the puddle that you're looking for. If your arc length is too short, you might end up with some porosity in there. You don't want to stuff it too deep. And at the same time, too long, you're going to end up with a lot of spatter. So your arc length should be hovering just above the puddle, and your travel speed should be moving slow enough that your filler rod is allowing the puddle to just spread out to the size that you need it. You'll see that the weld is really no more than 3 times the size of this electrode here. Now, that's not enough weld for this joint. We need to put in 2 more welds to fill this up. So for the second weld, you'll see the rod angle changes now. I'm much steeper. I'm pointing more at the bottom plate. Before I was at 45 degrees, now I'm closer to perpendicular. Maybe only 20 degrees off of perpendicular. And this weld is pretty much run the same way. You can drag it straight across the plate. You can use a little step motion. Really tight circles if you want to go with a circular route. I find that I end up straying a little bit with circles. It's hard for me to keep the weld straight. All I'm really looking at here, for me now, travel speed and arc length they come second nature. So what I'm looking at is making sure that my rod is following the toe of the previous weld. I want this weld to overlap my first weld by 60%, maybe 70%. So I'm just focusing the arc right down at the toe of the first weld, and that's going to help keep me straight, and we won't have any wandering weld beads on this joint. Everything will look nice and neat. That's another critical part to this. Not really critical, but if you want good looking welds, keep things consistent. Everything should be straight. Now we need a third weld to fill this in. My rod angle is now further from perpendicular. It's more towards the horizontal plane, laying down a little bit more, pointing more towards the top plate. And what that's going to do is prevent undercut along the top edge. If you stand your rod up too much, you're going to end up with a lot of undercut or underfill up along that top edge. And again, same technique, just dragging it, overlapping the last weld 60 to 70%, and watching the top edge, making sure that the top edge fills in properly. That's determining my travel speed, and just making sure I'm running a straight line across it. And that's all there really is to it. The lap joint's pretty simple. Get it cleaned up. Weld looks nice. It's good and straight. I'll give you a couple different views here to see how it goes. And if you look at the side profile of it, the weld is as high as the base metal is thick, and it comes out along the bottom toe a distance equal to that. So this is a 1/4 inch weld. It might actually be a little bit more than 1/4 inch on that bottom edge, which is acceptable. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Lap joint in the flat position is pretty simple. It's very common. I didn't mention the amperage and the rod sizes here. I am using a Lincoln Excalibur 332nd 7018 at either 100, somewhere between 100 and 110 amps. This joint could be done with one weld with a larger rod, an 1/8 inch or a 5/32, and all the same techniques apply. Use the same technique you would for the first pass. The trick is just making sure that you are melting in the top edge and that the weld size is appropriate for the thickness of the base metal. I would say anything larger than 1/4 inch, you're going to need to multiple pass. Definitely. 3/8 is a bit much. It could be done. 5/16 maybe you can get away with. But 1/4 inch you could do in one weld. I did 3 on this just so you could see it. And good luck to you guys.